There was a moment, quiet, almost invisible, when I felt the weight change. Not the world, me. I realized they never loved me whole. They loved what I surrendered. They loved the version of me that bent under pressure, that folded just enough to fit their hands. I bent to survive, not because I was weak, but because gravity was heavy. And I was alone. Every compromise felt like steel under strain. Every smile cost something. And every time I held myself together, the pressure increased. Until one day, something in me stopped yielding. Not in anger, in clarity. Their disappointment came first. That cold look when I didn't lower my head, when I didn't soften my voice, when I didn't apologize for existing with weight. That was the fracture, the proof. Because the moment I stood still, the world leaned harder, and I understood then resistance wasn't rebellion. It was sanity. I remember when silence was called maturity, when shrinking was praised as wisdom, when obedience wore the mask of peace. I kept my voice low. Again and again, I swallowed truth. Again and again, I chose quiet over honesty. Again and again, and every time they nodded, relieved. Every time they smiled, reassured. They said it was harmony. But harmony built on erasure is just a lullaby for the dying self. I mistook stillness for safety. I mistook compliance for control. I mistook endurance for virtue. Years passed like that. Smooth on the surface, hollow underneath. A fragile piece held together by my absence. And somewhere in the repetition, something sharpened. Memory stopped being kind. Patience thinned. I saw the pattern clearly at last. Obedience didn't save me. It consumed me. Slowly, politely, completely. The first time I didn't bend. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was a simple refusal. And the reaction was instant. Faces tightened. Masks shattered. Smiles cracked to show teeth. Admiration collapsed into fear so fast it was almost impressive. That's when I understood how thin their approval really was. How conditional, how fragile. One quiet no, and suddenly I was dangerous, disrespectful, unforgivable. The defiance was small, almost gentle, but they treated it like treason. Like I declared war by standing still. The cadence changed then. Everything accelerated. Words hit harder. Accusations flew faster. And in their outrage, they told the truth they never meant to say out loud. Strength unsettles those who profit from weakness. The moment I stopped yielding, I became the enemy. Listen carefully, because this part matters. They don't hate you because you're cruel. They hate you because you're uncontrollable. Independence removes leverage. Self-respect ends negotiation. The moment you stop seeking permission, their tools become useless. And that terrifies them. Watch closely, and you'll see it. The panic behind the anger. The desperation beneath the insults. Hatred isn't power. It's withdrawal. It's the sound of influence dying. They repeat themselves because they've lost new arguments. They escalate because subtlety no longer works. They label because they can't command. You no longer ask. You no longer adjust. You no longer explain. And nothing is more threatening than someone who doesn't need approval to stand upright. Their hatred isn't judgment. It's confirmation. Proof that the chains are gone, and they can feel it. But don't pretend it was easy. The war didn't end outside. It turned inward. Guilt whispered first, soft, familiar, asking if it would be easier to go back. Rage followed close behind, hot and reckless. And doubt. Doubt wore the voices of the past, reminding me how comfortable the cage used to feel. Old scars reopened. Ghosts spoke my name. For a moment, retreat looked merciful. Familiar chains felt lighter than unknown freedom. I paused there, just long enough to feel it. Not long enough to drown Dot, because fear isn't failure. Hesitation isn't surrender. Strength isn't the absence of weakness, it's the refusal to obey it. I didn't silence the voices. I outgrew them. And when I chose not to return, something closed behind me forever. Comfort, approval, innocence. The war was won. The cost was final. They called me a villain the moment I stopped performing goodness for them. So I listened, and I smiled. Morality, I learned, is often just obedience with better branding. Labels are weapons used by those losing control. And when strength becomes a sin, then sin is simply strength without permission. Don't say it again. Without permission, I stopped correcting them, stopped defending myself. Let the word settle. Let it harden. If standing firm makes me cruel, then cruelty will not break me. If boundaries make me monstrous, then monsters will be built, not begged. I didn't reject the title. I claimed it, because nothing frightens a fragile system more than someone who no longer seeks to be understood. If this is what they call evil, then let evil stand unbowed. Isolation followed, not as punishment, but as fire. In the quiet, away from their noise, I heard my own voice clearly for the first time. No applause, no correction, no distortion, just truth. Steady and unafraid, the nights were long. The work was silent. Growth happened without witnesses, and that's where it became real. Steel doesn't harden in crowds. It hardens alone. I learned to rely on weight instead of validation, on direction instead of approval. Every step forward was mine. Every decision unfiltered. There were no apologies left to offer. No explanations owed. The path narrowed, and I walked it without hesitation. Isolation didn't weaken me. It refined me, burned away what was borrowed, left only what was earned. Now hear this. Clearly, I do not bend, not to threats, not to nostalgia, not to fear dressed as concern. I am not a storm begging the sky for permission. I am the ground it breaks upon. Crowns do not sit lightly, and I carry mine without flinching. Let them shout. Let them scheme. Let them remember the version of me that knelt. That version is gone, buried under decisions that cannot be undone. I don't explain my spine. I don't justify my weight. I stand, and the world adjusts or shatters accordingly. There is no doubt left to exploit, no weakness left to negotiate. I have become unmovable by choice, not by accident. And that is what they fear most. So let them hate. Let it burn out in their throats. Let them fear what no longer reacts. Let them oppose what no longer seeks victory, only presence. Their noise has lost its edge. Their judgment has lost its gravity. I am not rising anymore. I have arrived, fully formed, unreachable by shame, unchanged by opinion. Hatred was the first signal, the proof that I no longer belonged to them. Now it's just background sound, powerless, distant, irrelevant. I don't bend because bending is no longer possible. Not from pride, from identity. This is the shape I hold. This is the weight I carry. Let them hate. Let them watch. Let them fall away. I remain.